Steelers fans, imagine all the world's greatest songs about the world's greatest football team in a once-in-a-lifetime collection. What Jin's Talking About presents Steelers Songs Volume 1. 30 Pittsburgh songs, all about the black and gold. From Mike Tomlin
the standard is the standard when you're listening to Tomlin
to Russell Wilson.
Let Russ cook, oh let him soar through skies of black and gold.
And Cam Hayward.
Cam, don't go to Cleveland.
Get the Steelers Songs collection on 2 CDs or 2 cassettes for just $26.99.
Who is gonna catch the ball?
Or completely free on your favorite streaming service.
You say you're black and gold, but your face are full of it.
That's right, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio.
3 more years. Tomlin stays for 3 more years.
These songs will have you reaching for your terrible towel. Satisfaction guaranteed. Steelers Songs Volume 1 is not sold in stores.
No, we don't want no HBO.
So don't be a jagoff. Listen to Steelers Songs Volume 1 now. Only from What Jin's Talking About. The conversation about the Steelers conversation.
You can see the black and gold when we're in the Super Bowl.
B94.
Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Is it number 2? Is it number 3? Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Is it Fields for you? Is it Russ for me? Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Who's gonna lead us to a Lombardi? Yo, Russ brings experience and Super Bowl win. He's got the vision, ain't afraid to spin, but Phil's got the fire, the speed and youth. Running like a freight train, that's the truth. Who's the one to take a snap, lead the charge? Russ with wisdom, Phil's with the fusion large. Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Is it number 2? Is it number 3? Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Is it Phil's for you? Is it Russ for me? Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Who's gonna lead us to a Lombardi? Some say go with Russ, got the steel and heart. What feels to be our future, a brand new start. In the huddle calling plays, we need the best fit. Who's gonna wear that black and gold and never quit? Russ got the punch, he's ice in his veins. But can he sustain, bring us through the pain? Phil's on the rise, make the D second guess. Scramble for the touchdown, he's passing the test. Who's gonna keep the legacy, drive through the storm until the test? In that Pittsburgh uniform, who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Is it number 2? Is it number 3? Yo, Steelers Nation, let's settle this debate. Is it Russ with the leadership or Phil's with the new slate? Russ been there, done that, he's won on a big stage. But Phil's energy can light up this new age. Back and forth, the crowd makes some noise. But Wilson's experience of Phil's young boys. Each throw, each run, raising up a storm. Which one will conform to the Steelers' norm? Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Is it number 2? Is it number 3? Who should be Pittsburgh's QB? Is it Fields for you? Is it Russ for me?
B94.
In the city, still where legends are made. The roster's complete, the groundwork's laid. Oh, my cause vision, a masterpiece drawn. With every move, we keep marching on. The autumn winds will know our name. A band of brothers in the gridiron game. Feel the unity inside all the clay. See this pride burning like a flame. Russ has said the Steelers' time is here. Our country should pour, making moves so clear. New faces joining our fight for another year. Click and roll, break a shift with gear. So brace yourselves, it's time to fight. Pittsburgh times where all eyes vision, leading the brave, we conquer the fear of cavern in time. Steel City Bar, reaching its prime. So brace yourselves, it's time to fight. Pittsburgh pride, our future's bright. Welcome aboard, the crew's all tight. Together we rise under the lights. Out there. So brace yourselves, it's time to fight. Pittsburgh pride, and our future's bright. Together we rise under the lights. So brace yourselves, it's time to fight. So brace yourselves, it's time to fight. It's time to fight.
B94.
Sound the battle cry.
Battle cry, battle cry.
Boots on the field, yeah. We make some noise.
We make noise, we make
The
noise.
black and gold swarms with a heart of steel.
Of steel, of steel, of steel.
Tomlin's at the helm,
At the helm, at the helm.
and it's all so real.
So real, so real, so real.
Cause I'm watching, and I'm leading, and I'm winning. I'm with the team I'm rooting for. I'm strategizing, never quitting, black and yellow, flowing through my core. Cause it's crunch time, crunch time, crunch time, crunch time. And the steel curtain, whoa, curtain, curtain, curtain. We blitzing with the force, we're bringing more. I'm commanding, command. Steel spine vision, vision. Steel City,
Pumping in my soul.
we got the power in every hour. Pittsburgh rushes in. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Defense like iron, like our position's firing. But we're here to win. We're here to dominate.
Yoy!
I'm not gonna worry about your level of concern.
Yoy and double yoy!
We talking about Twitter.
Triple yoy!
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Quadruple yoy!
I don't send messages, I just make moves.
We can't speculate and recollate. We mark ourselves.
So much Steelers content these days. Whether it's the insiders or players themselves or former players or just regular old schmoes like you and me. But what do none of them do?
You better be willing to do unique things in order to expect unique results.
Nothing.
And that's just life.
No unique things out there. I see the same and hear the same old speculating and recollecting, the same old, contentless content.
Oh, yeah.
Power rankings or grades, draft grades, then roster grades, then what else can we grade?
I'm sure practice squad grades are on the way.
everything that is superfluous, and we've only got so much time in our lives. And are we going to waste it on all this meaningless content? That's why we're trying to bring meaning to the meaningless. Mm-hmm. We're here to reveal all the hot and toxic takes that are wasting your time in life. Mm-hmm. Who else brings you original Steelers music, jingles, interviews, exclusive interview? I saw someone trying to claim an exclusive interview with the Myron Cope author, and I'm thinking, yeah, it might have been exclusive when we had it 3 weeks ago. It's what Jin's talking about, the conversation about the Steelers conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm Kyle Kreis. Across from me is Greg Benevent.
Hello.
Lots to talk about this week from just the O-line. Maybe I'm living in my fears. We've got O-line and receiver talk.
Yes.
Maybe some defense. We don't often talk about defense because it's usually there's nothing hot to talk about.
Right. I mean, they've been playing. They had the perfect preseason themselves, more or less. At least the starters did.
But we will get to some roster cuts and the it's expectation season. They're starting to come in the next 2 weeks. We'll be piling on expectations.
Well, because there's going to be even less to talk about than usual.
And there is little, I don't know, maybe this week there's a little bit more than little. Right. But let's start it all off with the never-ending story. I'm talking...
It's my quarterback.
Quarterback talk. Let's get to these tweets. Starting with at Andrew Siciliano, my former co-worker, Andrew Siciliano. Yeah, you didn't watch the Justice Report on Fox?
I never even heard of it until this moment.
Well, that's my resume for you. It's what Jin's talking about and the Justice Report, things you've never heard. At Andrew Siciliano, says Andrew Siciliano, the question of which QB would start week 1 for the Steelers was never really, in my mind, in doubt. Which QB finishes the season? That's the better question. We got the official... the end of all the speculation and reculation from Coach himself on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So I get, we know Russ is going to, and we knew since March Russ was going to start.
Right.
Who is going to finish? Is that the question? Is that worth regulating?
It's worth regulating only in the context of I feel how many sacks are these guys going to take? How much are they going to get hurt and come back and go forth? I mean, if this question, which QB finishes the season, is asked in the context of which is playing better, which, given they're both in the same state of health, will Tomlin go with? I think that's kind of a silly question. I think it's obviously Wilson. If the question is which of them are able to survive the season and start and carry this team to hopefully a winning record, then yeah, that's maybe not a question. That could be the question that defines the season.
Health and hell, the living hell now for quarterbacks. If you told Russ and Justin in March, like, hey, you might have 2 rookies, maybe a third rookie on that line, maybe a guy with a 0.0 protection rating, or maybe a second-year guy in a sling. Do you still want to come and play for this team? Do you think that would have been a different outcome?
I think they kind of tried to ask Russ that, and he gave that wild answer the other week about, like, I knew that I would have a chance to play with Broderick Jones.
Okay. But all week it was still in doubt. At Get Up, ESPN, Get Up. I would have started Justin Fields, but this was never a QB competition. We were bamboozled a little bit. This is the quote from Dan Orlovsky on the QB battle in Pittsburgh. Is he parallel? I think he's he's copying from Mark Madden. It was 2 years ago where we were promised a competition, and now Dan Orlovsky's picking up on that. The sequel, we were promised a competition.
I will never understand how weirdly betrayed some people feel when there's not a QB competition. It's not a personal slight against you, the viewer, fan, or radio host. It also, I also, there's no way that I would ever use the word bamboozled in this context. We were perhaps we were led astray, perhaps, but I also, even if you were to use the word bamboozled, it's not appropriate here because you deluded yourself. You bamboozled you. Tomlin did no deception here whatsoever. He said the pole position. He never moved off of that. Occasionally somebody would be like, oh yeah, there's a competition. But it was never, at least as I read it, because I've, seen Tomlin talk before, it was never in any kind of context other than, hey, if Justin comes here and is the most incredible QB ever, then sure, he could beat out Russell, which is, by the way you had to present things just to give Justin a fair shot so that Justin feels right about going through the process that he just did. But man, there was never a competition in that they started from the same place or the goals were the same for both of them. No, it was always Russ's to lose, and he never ever came close to doing so.
Yeah, Tomlin had to play this tight walk where, Russ is hurt. Okay, so we'll give Justin Fields the entire preseason.
Right.
But it still ended up hurting Dan Orlovsky's feelings.
Right. Yeah, somehow that was still not enough for the sensitive nerve endings of one Dan Orlovsky.
He must have drafted his fantasy team in April or something. But the takes continue at Pigskin Junkie 91. Make rent triple digits again. With Russell Wilson, your best case is being Bortles Jaguars with a worse defense. With Justin Fields, your worst case is being Mariota's Falcons with a better defense. I don't know if I can do the algebra on this.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out when one train leaves Jacksonville to put this together.
Does Jacksonville have a better defense than the Steelers?
Well, I mean, that was a really good defense. That's the one that, stops the Killer Bees, if you remember, in that playoff game. So, yeah, that was, granted, the Steelers put up a lot of points in that game, but not until the Jags were up 3 touchdowns. It was a really good defense. I think that game, as much as anything, is why Miles Jack was a Steeler twice. But, it feels like with this take, and I don't want to single this person out, but this take, as also with a lot of the other people when they think about Justin Fields, is that it's kind of impossible to see him in anything other than this positive, optimistic light. Like, you don't see how it could go really, really, really bad. He could turn over the ball a lot, and then you're ending up with games like that playoff game against Jacksonville, where even if the offense does get it rolling, you're already down 3 scores.
I don't want to be. I want to be twice as good as Mariota's Falcons, and
yes,
I think I want to be. I think my floor is the Jaguars. They were the 8th seed. They were just outside looking in last season.
Yeah, and also the Bortles Jaguars went to the AFC Championship game. They were tight against Brady in the 4th quarter. They were right there. That was a championship contending team. And Bortles kept that team from losing. I think Tomlin would take the first analogy this person has made. I think Tomlin would be quite content with
Russ
that.
Wilson has got to be better than maybe it's that singular Bortles season,
right.
But otherwise Russ has got to be better than Bortles.
Yeah, certainly. And even in terms of decision making, it's Bortles could play ball control, but Bortles was also could turn the ball over a bit too, yeah.
Okay.
We've never talked about Bortles that long in our lives.
I don't ever. I just think back to the dude who would show up at the bar in the Bortles jersey.
Right.
Never to be seen from again after that season.
No. That dude was real out of control, folks.
And he got the last laugh that year.
He did.
So
he did.
Okay, next tweet. This is from @JT Heaps 9. Jake Heaps. Russell Wilson's 2023 stats didn't play in the last 2 games. If this was any other quarterback stats, the storyline would be positive. But because it's Russell Wilson and the stats are First in game-winning drives, 2023. First in fourth-quarter comebacks, 2023. Top 10 in TD passes. Third in touchdown percentage. Top 10 in TD to interception ratio. Top 10 passer rating. Fourth in red zone passing TDs, on and on. When you look at it in this tweet, then, man, it looks like Gold Jacket Russ there.
Absolutely, yes. It also, and thank you for cutting off reading before we got to according to PFF, because I was going to stop reading at that point myself. I mean, this is what the Steelers are hoping for. And the truth is, they're not hoping for this. They're hoping for a little worse than this. That would be the optimistic case, is a little bit worse than this. Because with a little bit worse than this, should there not be any further injuries, and should this defense continue to play as this defense can, then yeah, that team could look like the Bortles Jags.
And I would even say maybe, I mean, just because I've just watched enough of those Denver games where they kind of poop the bed, like I would maybe even a little better. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Well, also yeah, and I think that's an important point too. Is that I mean that I think that's something that chased me off somebody's stats, was that Denver was out of some of those games.
Yeah,
and some of this stuff that you're seeing, these top tens and all this, and you know, he was first in fourth quarter drives to come back. He was also probably a lot in fourth quarter drives where they were way out of it. The other team was playing backups and prevent and getting some of that stat padding and garbage time. But so some of these stats have that kind of buffer to them, but he was more effective than the quarterbacks they had. If he can play at that level, then they should be an improvement, which is, you're thinking that's the same thing we said in March. Yes, because nothing else has really happened since then to change that.
Yeah, if he puts up these kind of numbers, then we're also praising probably that offensive line.
Right.
And
the run game and the defense. The defense, too.
Of course, the defense is, you know, I'm predicting 08 level stats for them. Hopefully. Anything else on QBs? Oh, how about this? I like this about our quarterbacks. Yes. At C_Adamansky Trib, Chris Adamansky, Tribune Review. Justin Fields doesn't watch ESPN or SportsCenter and says he and Russell Wilson aren't aware of any of the national chatter about the Steelers. Sign them up extension right now. 5-year extension. I also don't watch ESPN or SportsCenter, but I can't believe that they're not aware of any of the national chatter. I mean, is that possible?
I mean, I doubt it's I doubt it's possible that they haven't heard. Oh, everyone thinks there's a quarterback controversy. There's quarterback competition. I'm sure they've heard that. But I thought the same as you. I must say, throughout this process, I have been impressed with Justin Fields, the human being. He seems like a real serious, down-to-earth kind of guy, as much as you can be for somebody whose athleticism gets praised in like almost bizarre and flowery language. Like when he said that he buys knockoff jewelry, or or the fact that, like, if you see him in interviews, like, he doesn't, like, there's not a lot of like joking around with him. Again, he seems like a serious, focused guy, and that's maybe not the worst thing.
Everybody else gets a little tight.
He seems pretty chill for the most part. And I don't know if you saw Tomlin on Rich Eisen's show on Wednesday.
I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet.
But he was like, the first thing that they talked about in that, remember the 4-hour perfect meeting?
Him and Tomlin and Russell.
Yeah, the first thing they talked about was legacy, and you know, and he wants to be back on that gold jacket track, and that's what Tomlin. That was like the first thing he wanted to know. Also, Tomlin praised the deep ball. He says he's loving what he sees from the deep ball. So, will there be time to throw a deep pass with this offensive line?
Who knows?
This year?
Yeah, it's rolling out.
Okay, we'll get to that in about 30 seconds. First, one last thing, because it's 10 days until the season opener, so we got to talk about 2025. At Rock Steel, Arm Steel D Rocks. I like Justin Fields. I don't think he's the future franchise quarterback. If Wilson doesn't play lights out with a good playoff run, I'm drafting quarterback in the first next year. My target is Shader Sanders. I mean, I don't want to think about QBs again next year.
No. I mean, it's until they find the next franchise quarterback, it will be something we'll have to think about every single year. But I mean, if there's a couple things, I mean, just about this in particular, if there was ever, I know very little about college football, but man, if there was ever a prospect that could fall back in a season, I imagine it would be Deion Sanders' kid. And two, can you imagine what a circus this would be if they drafted that young man in the first round? I imagine there's other quarterbacks out there, but this is what it's like when you don't have a Hall of Fame franchise quarterback. You have to keep going until you find one, and that's hopefully they find it in one of these two. But eventually, one way or the other, they will have to go searching again.
Yeah, I could see Dion getting invited to the Troy Polamalu flag football game if his son was drafted.
Oh, I could see Dion running his mouth in the media the second that, it was the bad play call or something, an interception in the third quarter. I mean, it could go so many tragic ways. I mean, it's to think about it is like, I mean, I'm not one of those people that in LA that tends to use the word manifest, but to talk about it is almost to manifest it. So I will tiptoe past it with my lips sealed.
That'll be the last time that I address it.
Right. Not until we can't say Shader Sanders until February.
I don't even know how to say it, actually. I don't know if either of us has said it correctly.
All right. Now it's time to live in my fears.
It's good to see the big boy.
It's big boy talk. Let's get to the offensive line takes. At Carney Media, Trey Carney. If Seumalo is out for an extended period of time, the potential starting offensive line for the Steelers could have 3 rookies and a second-year, truly first-year, left tackle. Time to earn your paycheck, Pat Meyer. Who are the 3 rookies? We're talking Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier,
and Mason McCormick as the other guard.
I'm just thinking that's what every team their defenses, their mouths are watering thinking about 3 rookies and then Dan Moore as the sturdy vet there at left tackle.
Absolutely. James Daniel as the stud guy, but also this is this is where Tomlin earns it. I mean, this is where they wanted to build, bad things happen at next man up, all of this. This is the chance to earn it here. Let's see how good this could really be. They have a lot of talent. They're going to make mistakes, but figure out a way around this. I mean, this is where having a Hall of Fame coach really should help, because if one thing I know all these rookies are going to need, it's leadership. And whether that comes, and this is another place where it's good to have Russ, for as long as he can withstand this. I mean, this is, let's see that. I mean, and cards on the table as we're sitting here right now. The last we've heard is that Isaac's injury will only last for about a month, maybe a week or so after that. And that is, of course, with the pec, best case scenario. I mean, I like so many, I only know of human anatomy through football injuries. So whenever you hear pec, you immediately think the absolute worst, because most times it is the case, but that seems to mercifully, as we sit here right now, not be the case. But this is the kind of thing you coach around it, you plan around it, and you get these guys as prepared as possible and hope that you did your work. I mean, everyone's going to have injuries. It's time to see if ours can overcome theirs.
I'm just thinking back to 2021 when it was Kendrick Green and second year Dotson and rookie Dan Moore and Chooks, who people thought might have been overrated. So are we looking at that all over again? Is it going to be
and that San Diego and that guy they got from then San Diego that wasn't very good either, whose name already escapes me. Remember the one when DeCastro showed up and couldn't move on his leg anymore, and then they signed that guy the next day? I totally don't remember his name, but I mean that's entirely possible. The only difference is these guys have a lot more talent. And they are younger. So the idea that this line can come together and eventually be better is not fake or fool's gold or gaslighting or lying or anything of that nature. They really can come together and play better. They just are very, very young.
And, the whole storyline of that season was you get rid of the ball quickly, and we can't pass. The defenses knew we couldn't pass downfield. So, and I'm just wondering, is that going to be we're going to have George Pickens mad that we can't throw more than 15 yards because there's not enough time?
Well, also, George is going to be double teamed because there's no other receivers, too. I mean, don't forget that part of it. But this is you living in your fears. We don't know that these are all possible outcomes. These are all roads that could be taken, roads that could be traveled, but we don't know that as we sit here in August.
Never give up on the Steelers.
I'm not giving up.
We're not even a week and a half from the season. Sorry, this is not like you, Kyle. I'm concerned about you. But I mean, eventually you've consumed so much negativity in the last 3 years. There's no way the abyss couldn't have stared back into you a bit. I mean, come on now. Like,
I like to base everything on history, and it's like, well, we've never had the losing season. Well, it's like, well, we have been in this position before with an O-line that had more potential than kinetic energy. So
yes.
Geez, okay. I don't even want to get into all this O-line talk. How about this, though? At Domination 2030, Kelly Domination. Broderick Jones doesn't want to play right tackle. It's evident in his play. If they want to stick him out there in week 1, then they're definitely going to need Justin Fields a lot sooner than we think because Russell's going to get crushed. Can we say that Broderick doesn't want to play?
We cannot say that. I mean, now this is worse than the O'Neal Cruz body language reading interview thing from the other day. Now this is worse because now we're reading body language while someone's playing professional football, which is not a place where you can read body language until the play is over. But even then, as they're sitting here on a Wednesday, wasn't it they just run some drills with Broderick at left and Dan Moore at right tackle? Didn't that just happen on Wednesday? So it's, they're going to move these guys around a lot. There is a weird thing with the Doomer fans to threaten the rest of the fan base with Justin Fields. Have you noticed that? That happens. Well, you think the team's going to, they're going to need Justin Fields because it's going to be bad. That happens an inordinate amount of time in online Steeler arguments.
Let's just play the Wildcat and, what about, this is recollection to the extreme. And I'm just thinking, put the best 5 out there. What if that meant Broderick Jones at right tackle and then moving Troy Fautanu into the guard position?
I mean, it's like... I never solved the Rubik's Cube as a child, but the Steelers' offensive line has seemed to always be that because I know we did a word problem with the Bortles guy, but Dan Moore can't play right tackle. He can only play left. Broderick can play right and left. Fautanu can play right, but only when the quarterback is left-handed. So it really, I understand being frustrated about we can't nail these guys down to position. Oh, and also the guys are also in varying degrees of health and hurt.
Yeah.
So it is this bizarre puzzle.
We don't worry about the Joneses.
I'm worried about one Joneses. Okay. What about, I don't even know. Let's do, okay. How about, one more thing on,
sure.
Let's just go forward here to at ATG_sports media against the grain. The Steelers made a colossal mistake by drafting historically bad Kenny Pickett. Could have brought Ben back for 1 year and drafted O-line Tyler Smith or Tyler Lindenbaum. Now look at us. Revisionist history, not even last year's revisionist. Let's go back 3 to 2 years, whatever.
I mean, can you imagine the amount of complaining people had about Tomlin being unwilling to change if he brings back Ben for another year and then in the first round they draft a center? That would be, I mean, you cannot imagine the nuclear takes off of that. How many jokes end with, why not just run the wing tee? It is, oh my word. I mean, you would talk about an organization stuck in the past. At that point, they'd be stuck in the 60s.
If you really want to, play the multiverse, we could have, drafted Freiermuth in the first round, drafted Lindenbaum in the second round.
Well, I think the Freiermuth draft, it's Humphreys, right, who became It's Creed Humphreys.
Oh.
Because that was the one. I remember driving to go see my friends in Marina Del Rey that I hadn't seen in forever, and I had the draft on, listening to SNR, and the guys are actually chanting Humphreys, 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 and then they announce it's Freiermuth. But yeah, so I mean, I guess Humphreys, but I don't know. Are there injuries in parallel dimensions? The guys get hurt? Are there other decisions? I mean, it's I don't think you could I don't think it's plug and play parallel dimensions either.
Everything hurts.
Well, just everything is hurting. Let's move on to.
Why didn't he pick him up? Put him down.
Receivers. Do we have anyone to pick him up and put him down? At Wis Tim, or is it Wise Tim 55 Scarecrow?
I don't think it's Wise Tim. I've read the tweet already.
I haven't been alive long enough to say in franchise history, but is this the worst Steelers wide receiver room since 2004? Because it's bad. Deontay had to go. He was toxic, but this isn't good either. And I'm just like, is this the worst? The 2004 wideouts were Hines Ward, Plexico Burress, Randall L. That right there, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's better than what they have right now, for sure.
Sean Morey, Lee Mays.
And Morey was mostly a special teamer, and Lee Mays was kind of like not like a taller version of how they use Calvin Austin.
Yeah, so. I think Vance Mack had more. No, he wasn't even on the I don't know. I think the tight end had more catches that year than.
Yeah, Lee Mays was, if you remember Tommy Maddox trying to throw deep balls to Lee Mays and it not working out. I would like to say kudos to this person for starting a tweet how so many should. I haven't been alive long enough to say in franchise history, but like that's how most of these tweets should start. And this ends with the person saying hope, which is also not how many of these end. They're trying to be optimistic. I mean, we've been waiting for and hoping that they would do something else at wide receiver for several months now. I understand the team wanted to get rid of Deontay as much as they possibly could. But I always assumed that meant they were bringing something else in, and we're getting very close to the point where it looks like they're absolutely not bringing something else in. So this could very much hold the offense back. I mean, it's this could all work out. We just can't necessarily see how from here. But by that same token, we've still got a week and a half at least.
I don't know that I have an opinion that's worth expressing.
Okay, trying to withhold opinions on this room. Mm-hmm. 2000. What about the Duck year? That was James Washington and
maybe like the best of James
a rookie
Washington.
Deontay. I mean, is that
and Deontay it's always a great route runner. I mean that wasn't the that wasn't great, but it was okay.
Why stop at 2004? At Pucks and Bucks, Joe. As it stands right now, this is the worst wide receiver room in the 21st century. I didn't even want. I was like, should I even look? But I didn't want to try to justify that.
One, good for you not doing that. And two, I haven't been alive for the 21st century, but.
What if it is?
I mean, this could be the worst year, and this could be the year it all falls apart. It really could. But so could last year, and the year before that, and the year that took place during the pandemic, and the year when the franchise quarterback messed up I don't even remember what Ben messed up at this point. Like, each of these years could be the year. Even the good years could have been the year that everything falls apart. But it hasn't yet, and we don't know that yet.
Okay, we don't know it. We don't know it. That's right. Just keep saying we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. All right. At Mic'd Up Sports 1, Mike Nicastro. Something I can't quite figure out with Arthur Smith and the Steelers. He brought his guys here, Van Jefferson and Cordell Patterson, but he didn't use his guys in Atlanta. Jefferson had 12 catches. Who made the decision not to use them? This is my fear. Is like our number 2 receiver had 12 catches. I mean, so did Cameron Hayward. I mean, Connor Hayward.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's why they need to get a second wide receiver. By that same token, the argument to this, the counter argument to this is last year the Falcons also had Bijan Robinson and the tight end whose name escapes me, both of which were the most lauded prospects at those positions in years. I mean, if you vaguely remember any of the mock draft stuff, they talked about Bijan Robinson like they talk about no running back I can remember since Saquon, and the tight end was like one of the highest graded tight end prospects ever. I don't even remember his name. So they had, and I remember there was some criticism that Smith didn't feed those guys the ball enough. So I kind of wonder if also, too, Atlanta's defense wasn't all that great either. So I'm not sure how many carries and touches and catches there were to go around, period. But these certainly weren't his prime playmakers, either of these guys. It had to go to Robinson, and is it Turris? Is it Kyle Turris? Is that the name of the tight end?
Or was it Pitts?
Maybe that's Pitts. I don't know. But it's regardless that just a super prospect at tight end. So if you're going to have those two guys, you got to get them the ball.
It is a pebble in my shoe.
Well, I'm afraid a pebble in my shoe might be the difference between a win and this year. I don't know. Anything? Okay, how about just one last thing on receivers? At Pat and Patty 2205, Patrick McCullough. People are freaking out about the Steelers' wideout room because it looks exactly the way it has looked for 6 months. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, like this, it hasn't changed since March.
Right.
And is it just because we kept expecting them to add one of these blockbuster trades? It was going to be Tyreek Hill. It was going to be DK Metcalf. And now it's not even Miles Boykin.
Right.
I mean,
or even it's going to be Mike Williams, or it was Carboli made the tweet about Tyler Boyd would look good right about now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's people are freaking out because I in the last 6 months, there was always that idea that it was going to change or improve, and it has decidedly not done so.
I mean, I just kept thinking, Deontay and Pickens, that's going to be 2 Pro Bowl, wideouts. And now I'm afraid that it's going to be Scotty Miller bailing us out on third down, to try to get to midfield. I don't know.
Yes, it very well could be.
Bring back Ray Ray. I think Ray Ray was cut.
Was he? Oh, okay. I thought he was going to return kicks for the Falcons in the first game. I could be wrong. I didn't.
Oh, maybe that's the case. I don't know. It seems like every Steeler.
We don't have the Ray Ray tracker.
I feel like every Steeler that used to be in a black and gold has been cut except for Deontay Johnson. So.
Yes.
Okay. Is that receivers talk? Let's. There's a silver lining because we've got the best defense, right?
Okay.
The cream of the crop.
The best. It's the best. Let's get to at A Saunders _PGH, Alan Saunders. Herbig earned more than a backup role.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is more than a backup role for your number 3 outside linebacker?
Well, I mean, I of like hidden Steelers facts, I think it's always that T.J. Watt plays less than you might think. He really does take himself out of the game often so that he's fresh for the end. So I think that means Herbig is going to get more of those snaps. I mean, I'm sure they've made some kind of defense where there's 3 outside linebackers and maybe Highsmith drops into coverage or something or other, and then Herbig worms his way around tackle. But yeah, I would assume that's what most of that means. But the idea of Herbig has played well enough to get on the field in packages like that. He deserves a look in that way. I mean, when the guy's out there, things happen, regardless of who he's against. And we saw it last year in the Seattle game. I mean, that really, not that things needed turned around, but that sort of closed the door pretty shut. So I'm hopeful that they do find more ways to get Herbig on the field, not at the expense of taking TJ and Highsmith off too often, but finding an extra way to get out there, yeah, that's worth a snap or two.
I think the stat was TJ plays 80% of the snaps, and Alex Highsmith also plays about 80% of the snaps. So
perfect.
If
plenty
that's
of room for that.
Yeah, if that's separate, then you could get Herbig on for 40%. Is that more than a backup role if he's playing 40% of the snaps?
Well, I mean, it sounds like Herbig can step right into, I'm assuming, a lot of those 40% last year. A majority, I would hesitate to say all of them, but a majority of those, strong majority, went to Golden, who, of course, is now relaxing at home again. So I think Herbig should get most of those, and the rest of them will go to Gadget Man DeMarvin Leal.
Yeah, okay. 40, make it 41% then. Well, you know, if 40% isn't enough, then you've got the tweet from at Michael Beck 56. Michael Beck, Nick Herbig is going to force his way as a starter. He was productive in limited snaps as a rookie, a beast in camp, dominated the preseason. How in what scenario can he force his way into without someone, TJ or Alex Highsmith, getting hurt?
I mean, just in terms of, I don't know, in some packages you put him out there, Herbig out there, instead of like another safety, instead of another defensive lineman. That's the only thing I can kind of figure out. But these are conversations that the Steelers coaching staff never would have had, or never would have had to even begin to entertain without Herbig playing as well as he has.
But are we? Is it all? Are we still smoke and mirrors? Because at Alex_Kazora, most sacks in the Steelers preseason, 2018 to 2024. Number 1, Tuzar Skipper,
Still
5.
the legend. Still
then
the legend.
Number 2 and 3, Nick Herbig. Is this? Are we just? You know, is it fool's gold? Is this just the new Tuzar Skipper, or is he more than that?
Well, no one on the team talked about Tuzar like they talked about Nick. I mean, if you remember in 2019, it's not like TJ was talking about, you know, teaching Tuzar his favorite moves. And 2, again, I already mentioned it. There was no moment with Tuzar when the game's on the line and he works his way on the road stadium and he hits the quarterback and rips the ball out of his hands and recovers it. I mean, that's, you know, Tuzar never did that on, was it New Year's Eve? There was none of that for the dear Mr. Skipper.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, okay. More than Tuzar, less than TJ. Somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. I think that's fair. Okay. Is that... Oh, no, wait. We've got more defense to talk about. The tweet from at David M. Todd. David Todd. Corey Trice is going to be starting opposite Joey Porter Jr. by midseason. Book it. Oh, I hope not, because then that makes the Deontay trade for nothing. I don't think we've seen. I don't know. Have we seen enough from Corey Trice? I mean,
Trice is going to play a lot. They like him, but I mean, this is neglecting just how much the Steelers coaching staff loves Dante Jackson. Like, they really, really love that guy.
Did we see him? I feel like he's been under the radar. What have we seen?
Yeah, well, I think that just it. I think they haven't thrown to him a whole lot in the preseason. I know he definitely made a tackle during the Houston game. I don't think they've played him much because he's an established starter. I mean, I don't think they've put him out there for too many snaps. But if there's one thing we know about this coaching staff, it's that they absolutely love Dante Jackson.
Let's go back to... at Alex_Kazora. Alex Kazora. This is going to be an unpopular opinion, but the Steelers need to bring back Patrick Peterson to fill the pass down slot, post-snap safety rotational role. It's Beanie Bishop, I guess.
It's Beanie Bishop. They like Beanie that much. They gave everyone else around a shot, and Beanie outlasted them all.
And sure, we've seen that before with, like a Mike Hilton type. But I mean, I felt like it was less than, or maybe it was a week ago, where Tomlin was like, "We absolutely not have seen what we wanted to from Beanie Bishop."
He said Beanie wasn't available. He wasn't healthy enough, and he didn't earn those snaps. That was Tomlin's comments after the Detroit game, and then the team cut everyone else that could play the position except for Beanie. And Beanie even got a real number as opposed to Jalen Warren's. He's now 31. So they're counting on Beanie to be part of this team. I mean, I disagree with Kazora that this is going to be all that unpopular opinion, and it'll definitely not be an unpopular opinion the moment Beanie gives up a catch to a tight end.
Yeah, right.
Like the moment that in Atlanta, that big tight end gets a first down, there are going to be a lot of people calling for Patrick Peterson to come back on the team and cut like a wrestling promo on the other team on his podcast like he did last year. That would drive me nuts. But
and I think that when Cam Sutton comes back, everyone's like, oh, then he'll fill in that slot role. But I think he pretty much played dime backer and safety in the preseason. I didn't see him playing any cornerback, really.
I don't think I that might also come under the heading of not wanting to show anything. I think the team I mean, whatever, say what you will about Sutton, and my word is there a lot to be said. The guy's a smart football player. I think he can play any number of those positions inside, so I don't think they're too worried about. I'm sure they can put him right into this position should Beanie explode, or whatever the proper phrasing is here. I could see this being like, well, it didn't work out with Beanie for 2 weeks. We're going to try this other guy, and then this other guy, and then I'm just continuing on this rotating of, or even just, actually, I take that back. This doesn't work. They're going to start just putting in another safety. That, I think they kind of want to do that a lot anyway.
Right, we'll get to see some more KZ in there or something.
Yes, and of the 8 dudes on this team now with a last name named Elliott can also play some safety as well.
Or Wilson. Do we have a safety named Wilson? Maybe, I don't know. All right, defense not going to be a problem. He knocked on wood. How about? But then another one of my worries is special teams.
Mm-hmm.
We're back to Alex Kozora for the third time. It's a hat trick. Cameron Johnston's net punts today, this is after the third preseason game, 35 yards, 35 yards, 39 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he's booting these huge punts, it's still net yards is like 35. Coverage unit still struggling.
Mm-hmm.
May need to find outside gunner. Well, both Miles Boykin and
James
Pierre were cut, but they didn't
sign either of them.
Yeah. So what the heck is happening on?
They're not worried about gunner, or at least they're not that worried about it. They believe they can coach one of these guys into the position. One of them will work their way into it. I mean, as I remember, didn't they build Boykin as a gunner? I thought he'd had some special teams experience when he came over from Baltimore, but not the extensive and quality special teamer he became with the Steelers. And Pierre, of course, was somebody I want to say was undrafted, and the Steelers signed and built him up. So I can also see, we can build our own guys. We can build the guys we have into gunners, and Danny Smith also had say over this lineup too. So it's his voice doesn't carry as much as the rest of them, but he was also involved in it. But they obviously believe they can get away with this, that they can either create a gunner or that the gunners they have can do this.
Des Fitzpatrick cut,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Watts, IR.
Yeah.
Beanie Bishop was given the first shot in preseason, but that was kind of lackluster. But I guess it's going to be Beanie, and I don't even know who they're not giving Corey Trice a look back there yet.
No, I mean it's. I can't remember if Darius Rush made the team or not. Well, that Elliott guy, Jalen Elliott, they like him on special teams.
I think he's more of a what do they call it, jammer or something?
Yeah, I'm never sure which one is which, but they're gonna have to figure something out in 10 days' time for who their gunners are gonna be.
I mean, there's 8 defensive linemen on the lineup, and I think you can only dress like 5 or something. So
I mean, I do think that the lineup's going to shift a bit to that kind of thing. I mean, it's just like, what was it? The Browns have 2 running backs and 4 quarterbacks. Well, okay, the Browns aren't going to go into the season that way. They're going to change some things over there, and I imagine it's the same thing with the Steelers and the defensive line.
Okay. Let's talk roster. That was the big news. 53-man roster. The tweet from @Leroy Randall Van Heflin. Steelers fans whining about nickel corners or wide receivers are negative losers who just need to be blocked. Those are the 2 most overrated positions on a football team. If you want to worry about something, worry about Mike Tomlin's coaching acumen. Nice little dig there at the end. Are these? I mean, wide receiver, that seems bigger than
nickel corner. Yes, it's.
But are we worrying about players that are only going to get 10 snaps or so? Or
well, I mean, but that's for a team that's probably not going to score upwards of 4 touchdowns a game. It's these marginal positions that can help to determine whether the game is won or lost. I mean, as soon as I found out they cut Rodney Williams, I thought about what the great special teams plays he made in the home game against Baltimore last year that very well could have been partially determinative up until, Kenny hit George streaking down the sideline there at the end. So it's if this is the Chiefs, no, who cares? Run out another 6th round running back or some dude that you found on the scrap heap. It doesn't matter. But for a team like this that is going to rely on defense and close games, then the nickel corner could be the guy that determines the game. Or even with a great roster. I mean, maybe with a better nickel corner, maybe the Niners win the Super Bowl. Maybe that guy gets home on that blitz at the end. I mean, it's, those kinds of things. So until you have the kind of talent that can overcome all those fringe positions, they're each going to matter.
Okay, all right. So we got some holes, maybe, or I guess to be determined. Maybe
right. We don't know if they're. We think they might be holes, but we don't know that as we're sitting here today.
And if we just play with a lead, then who cares, right? Who cares if we can play with a lead with our O-line? Let's. I think I'll pass on Andrew Filippone's grades for the roster.
Oh yeah, that would have taken forever.
Let's just go on to its expectation season.
Oh boy.
At Blitzberg. Are Yins feeling optimistic after the preseason? Yes. 59%? No, wow. 41%. We've got an optimistic Steeler Nation here.
Wow, and this isn't like the most negative account, but it's in the bottom 20.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's this is no Steelers Nation, but this is a more negative place. And I think also too, this is directly in the wake of the Lions game, where even no matter how much you can say, oh, those were the Lions backups and this and this and this, it is the first time in about 9 months you've seen the Steelers offense move down the field. And I think that in and of itself just has kind of a panacea effect on people.
How about at Phoenix 3 million USMA 1990? I think Steelers are a 500 team. Don't see offense scoring many points. Lack of weapons. Defense will shut down George Pickens. Russell will have no clue. Defense keeps us close, but I just don't see an elite overall team. So it sounds like the same Steelers from the last 3 years or so.
Yeah, the last several years. Yeah. Well, I think also too, is a team with a winning record elite? Last year's Steelers team had a winning record. I didn't hear a whole lot about how they were elite. This is one possible fate. This is one possible way it could go. It could go in many other ways. Imagine if someone had sat you down on August 28th of 2023 and said, Mason Rudolph is going to lead this team to the playoffs in December. You'd think they were out of their mind, and rightly so. So you don't know exactly how this is going to occur just yet.
Okay. Let's let's just go all the way to enough haters. I'm muting some of these. Okay,
Good.
Let's go to at CWM0906 Craig W. McKinney Esquire. Preseason thoughts. O-line is shaky and is going to go through growing pains.
Yes.
Wideout depth isn't as glaring of a hole as I thought. Impressed by Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin.
Hopefully.
Every backup not named Herbig or Wilson sucks and should be cut immediately. Cornerback depth is going to be tested. Well, yeah, because you cut all the backups.
Right, exactly. Yes, you have Herbig now playing at left outside corner. I forget who it was the first person to say it. Maybe it was Matt Williams or someone else. Is that no one is really deep. I mean, it's the idea that there's like a lot of good players out there as backups is not necessarily the case, unfortunately. But you did see the backup defense get moved around a lot by other teams' backup offenses, so I can kind of see where this person's coming from. But yeah, I mean, this is someone who's cautious but still marginally optimistic for the season. So we're going to say okay to this. We're going to casually nod.
Will you casually nod that wide receiver depth isn't as glaring as the worst want to say?
I mean, it's not impossible that it still works out. I think a lot of the lack of wide receiver depth, I mean, the making up for the lack of wide receiver depth is going to fall on the shoulders of Freiermuth. I mean, if he really steps up as a target, then okay, then he can really be your wide receiver too. And maybe we get back to passing more to Najee. I mean, everyone forgets when he was drafted, that was such a big part of what we talked about in the first, why he was worth the first round pick. He runs routes like a wide receiver. They kept showing that, that catch he made 20 yards downfield against Alabama, the Kenny win in Baltimore. All it's if you can involve Najee in the running game too, then the passing game too, then you can absolutely work your way around having number 1 wide receiver and like 3 number 4 wide receivers.
Whew. Okay. All right. Well, I think let's see. I think the. Oh wait, that's not the band. Pole position.
I can't believe you didn't find that like March or April.
I know. I just thought of it today. I just was like, the old pole position cartoon. A couple of odds and ends, and then we'll get out of here. Speaking of pole position, at NFL_Dove Kleiman, 2024 NFL starting quarterbacks ranked by their BMI.
Wow.
We've got number 10, Russell Wilson, 28.7 BMI. And obesity is 30, which makes Dak Prescott medically obese.
The world-class athlete who is known for running, in addition to having the big arm, is medically obese. In case you had any doubt that BMI is a terrible way to judge anything and not indicative of anything, I'm so glad I put these glasses on. This also would have been a place for you to play the "It's Good to See the Big Boy" clip. And since they're all big boys, every single one of them. I don't know. I'm surprised. Lamar must be thin because Lamar looks so tall. I mean, I'm surprised that Lamar's kind of towards the bottom here. But again, this just shows how capricious and worthless BMI really is as a judgment. Since all these men are incredibly muscular and in the shape of their lives as world-class athletes, every single one of them.
Well, Russ, when he was at 214 back in Seattle, his body fat was 10%.
Wow!
And since then, he's cut down to 206.
Wow!
So I don't know if that's if he's lost muscle mass with that, but geesh, I wish I was 206. I think my BMI is like 32. So
yeah, I mean, and mine used to be much, much higher than that. I guess I'm kind of surprised that the tallest of these guys is 6'6". That I guess I didn't realize Justin Herbert is the league's tallest starting quarterback.
Yeah,
I did not have that. But again, if you take nothing from this, and you shouldn't, it's that BMI is a mostly worthless measurement of anything.
Okay, then. Well, put that on your podcast, content creators. We're the only one. Do we have exclusive coverage of the BMI talk? Okay, how about one last thing, and it goes to at Steeler Nation, our favorite Steeler Nation. Steelers may put a small sports book out of business if this happens. And apparently the most money for winning the AFC is going to the Steelers, which I think the quote from one sports book was, "We're going to lose 6 figures," and I'm thinking, don't you probably make that in a weekend?
Right. Oh yes, absolutely. And remember, that's always when you're setting when the odds are set. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring the money in. They're not worrying about losing it because they're the house. They just want to get you to start betting. So that's why they're giving you incredibly long odds on the Steelers, right? Isn't it like 25-1 or something?
It was originally 40-1 when odds opened, and now it's 25-1.
Right, exactly. Because Jens just kept pouring in money to say the Steelers are going to win this thing and to try to lock it in at those great odds.
But I'm not worried about, putting a small sports book out of business. Are there any small? I don't think there's any mom and pop sports books
right, exactly.
out there.
We didn't go to the corner sports book. There are some paperhead sites online, but we don't need to talk about that now. But for the most part, that's not who is being interviewed, giving you 25-1. Like, that's not who was doing it.
Well, it could be a great Christmas if Steelers lock it up this year. Everyone wins.
That could be the modern remake of Trading Places.
Oh, let's make it. Maybe that should be our Christmas card this year. We trading Acrisure places. Okay, all right. Well, I guess that's what we've been talking about.
That's what we've been talking about.
And we're just Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're just 10 days away from opening day.
Away.
Cannot believe it. The longest off season in off-season history
since last year.
I'm still looking for some iTunes reviews. I'm guessing not everyone makes it to this far into the pod because we haven't been getting the reviews. I mean, leave a review, help us in the algorithm.
Yes.
DK is out there boasting 20,000 downloads to his podcast, and we are at not quite 1% of that. So.
Well, but he's also does 10 minutes 5 days a week. I mean, that's a little different. But still.
Help us out.
Yes,
we got stuff. We got better content than some of these. I'm not gonna call out any picket crossing reporters, but come on, we got interviews from Lavon Kirkland, from Dick LeBeau coming up. Dare I say it, or shall I jinx it? Coming up next week, it's gonna be NSYNC's Chris Kirkpatrick, Steeler fanatic. Who else has got that? Exclusive content. Want to call your Double Yoy interview exclusive. Steelers takeaways. We've got the we had it first.
Yoy, double yoy.
Exactly. But I was going to call him out on Twitter, and then I was just like, no, who cares?
That's not worth it.
Who cares?
It's not worth it.
Keep the conversation going on social media. I am at Kyle Kreis. Greg, where can we find you?
At Greg Benevent, B as in boy, E-N-E, V as in Victor, E-N-T.
If you're in Southern California, you can see us Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday I'm at the Pack Fest at 7:30. Kyle's going to be at Flappers Comedy Club.
Okay, it's everywhere in Los Angeles. You can't escape.
But Sunday we'll be there for the Yoo-Hoo Room Live, 5 p.m.
Okay, well, maybe just follow us on social media.
Yeah, that might be for the best, folks.
Okay, until next week, when I'm sure there will be plenty of level-headed expectations and predictions for the 2024 season. Gear up, put on your spiritual armor, Steeler Nation. It's going to be the season of a lifetime starting next week. Okay, until then, keep listening to your coach.
Be their best selves. That's going to be required.
Stay in school.